Hi, storytellers. It's Nikki telling the story this week because of the massive blizzard outside that has kept everyone else from being able to come in. This week's story is the parable of the Good Samaritan. A lot of you told it last year, but for those that weren't here or who didn't get to tell it, we are going to tell it today. Parables are told very differently than normal sacred stories, which is what we call the stories that come in the baskets, which you can't see what I'm pointing at. They come in these gold boxes, and they are marked by a dot that matches the underlay that comes inside. So the Good Samaritan's underlay is this burlap, so the dot is also burlap, which will help you find it on Sunday. It is also the only parable that's out right now in preschool rooms, so that will help you guys. Parables are told differently in that there is a time of wondering at the beginning as well as the end. So when you see me asking questions and looking around at the imaginary children that I don't have with me, that's a time for them to respond to you. And the way the stories are worded in Godly Play, and I believe also in the revision team's stories, can kind of help you to figure that part of it out. If it says, yes, that does look like a crack, that would be a response to a child, but you can also just say that in your storytelling, and they don't have to answer, but it can be really fun to see what they come up with, because they have very active imaginations, especially some of the older kids, and so it's a lot of fun to hear the different things that they think the different pieces are. And a lot of them will have heard this story last year, so they'll know what the pieces are, which is also kind of fun. The other thing about telling parables that's really helpful, and it says it in the book, and I'm sure also in the revision team story, is that when you tell the parable, if you leave the lid up so the kids can't see in the box, that'll help a little bit. Some of them will still try to peek around, but it helps a little bit so the kids aren't messing with the stuff or pulling it out or asking what things are that are in the box, so you can kind of reveal each one as the story unfolds. So, this is the story of the Good Samaritan. Oh, this is our story for today. I wonder what could be in it. This box is gold. And gold is very precious. So there could be a parable inside, because parables are even more precious than gold. And this box also looks very old, just like how parables are very, very old. This box also looks like a present. Parables are like presents because they were given to you a very long time ago by someone who is very important. This box also has a lid. It's kind of like a door. Parables can be very, very hard to open. You have to be very, very ready to go into a parable, because they can be very easy to break. But even if you're not ready, you can keep coming back and learning more and more about it. I wonder if there really is a parable inside this box. I have an idea. Let's open it and see what's inside. Oh. This is just brown. A lot of brown. There's no blue, there's no green. All just brown. It's scratchy. Well, that doesn't tell us very much about the story if it's only brown. I wonder if we have anything else that could help us. Oh. I wonder what this is. It's not really stretchy like a rubber band. It sort of looks like a big Band-Aid. Yeah, it kind of looks like a crack. I wonder what else it could be. Oh, it's a road. It connects this place with this one here. I wonder if there's anything else in here that can help us. Oh. These are very dark. There's no light here at all. Wonder what these could be. See if there's anything else that can help us. Oh, yes. These will help us to tell the story. I think that we have everything we need. The only thing that's left is to begin. Once there was someone who was so amazing, and he said such amazing things, and he did such wonderful things, that people just had to follow him. They couldn't help it. And as they followed him, sometimes they asked him questions. One day, someone asked him, "What is the most important thing to do in life?" And the man who was so amazing and did such amazing things said, "You already know." And the man said, "Yes. It is first to love God, and second to love your neighbor." "But who is my neighbor?" And the one who he had asked told them this parable. There was once a man in the city of Jerusalem, and he traveled toward the city of Jericho. But on his way, he was attacked by robbers. And they took everything that he owned, and they hurt him, and they left him for dead. Now there's also a priest from the temple in Jerusalem who was moving or traveling to Jericho. And he came to the man who had been hurt and had everything taken from him and was lying on the side of the road half dead. And he moved to the other side of the road and continued on his way. Now another man who also worked at the temple came and walked along the road to Jericho. He was a Levite. A Levite was someone who worked and kept the temple clean and worked in the temple and played the music in the temple. And he also came to the man who was hurt and had had everything taken from him and was lying on the side of the road half dead. And he too moved to the other side and continued on. And then another person came down the road, but he was not from Jerusalem. He was visiting from a country called Samaria. Now, people from Samaria and people from Jerusalem did not like each other at all. They had been fighting for a very long time. But when the Samaritan man came to the man who had been hurt and had everything taken from him and was lying on the side of the road half dead, he went to him. And he put medicine in his wounds, and he gave him his cloak, and he put him on his donkey, and he took him to Jericho. And there he paid for him to stay in an inn overnight, and he stayed with him. And he even gave the innkeeper enough money to keep the injured man until he was better. Now I wonder Who was a neighbor to the man who was hurt and had everything taken from him and was laying on the side of the road half dead? Was it the thieves? I wonder if it was the Levite. Or maybe, I wonder if it could have been the priest. Or I wonder if the Samaritan man was a neighbor to the poor man. I wonder who was a neighbor to the thief. Oh, that's not such an easy question, is it? I wonder who was a neighbor to the Levite or to the priest. I wonder how the injured man felt watching the priest and the Levite walk past him. I wonder how he felt when the Samaritan man came up to him. I wonder how the priest and the Levite felt as they walked by the man who needed help. Here is the Samaritan, the man who was attacked on the side of the road, the thieves who took the things from the man, the priest and the Levite who work in the temple in Jerusalem, the rocks, the cities of Jericho and Jerusalem, the road between them. And one last thing before I finish. You notice that I don't use Jesus' name when I tell the parables. The godly play stories don't. They refer to him as the man who did wondrous and amazing things and said such amazing things. And I do that not because I don't like to use Jesus' name, because I do, but because it's an amazing thing when the kids figure out who it is, and they do. Especially because we've been talking about him in some of the other stories that we've told. So if you'd like to say Jesus when you talk about the man who tells the parables, that's totally fine, but you don't have to if you want to leave that up to the kids to figure out, because it's an amazing thing to watch a kid lean over to somebody else when you start the parable and say, that's Jesus. So it's up to you. Have a wonderful time with this story, and drive safe getting here on Sunday. Bye.